Hello guys, Notebit here again. Thank you for all your kind feedback on my previous video. I promised you guys that I would show you how to set up Git in a multi-user environment, and that's what I'm going to do today. And we're going to use something called GitLab for this. GitLab is an open source kind of project that looks a lot like GitHub, and it's a very excellent front end for your Git projects. And I'll show you two ways of doing this. I'm going to show you one where you set up a local server on your own PC, and I'm going to show you how to do it for a hosted solution through a hosting provider. So to do this, we're going to need something called VirtualBox. And this is something made by Oracle, which is a way to set up virtual machines uh, inside a real machine, basically. So we can host Linux servers and still be running Windows on the outside. So we're going to download this. I'm using Windows. I'm just going to download this host for Windows. I have already done that, so I'm just going to cancel that, but you need to do it. And while that is downloading, we're going to head over to turnkeylinux.org. This is another amazing site. I mean, they have so much cool stuff here. What they do, they make ready application servers and services and virtual PCs for you to use. And there's a ton of different things already here. Like if you want a LAMP server, it's there. If you want soups, whatever that is, or simple machines, there's a forum. It's all there. But we're going to use GitLab for this. So just search for GitLab and it pops up like this. And we want to download the VM for virtual machine image. If you're going to run this as a normal server somewhere, you can download the ISO file. This is the one we want, so we're going to download that. So I already done that as well, but you need to do it. So just get cracking, download that thing. And when you have installed the VirtualBox, you can open it up and you get the VirtualBox manager like this. And we need to take the virtual machine disk drive we just downloaded and unzip it like this. And it creates the virtual disk drive image for you here. So we create a new virtual machine, call it GitLab. It's a Linux system, and I happen to know that it's a Debian 64-bit. It then asks you for how much memory you want to dedicate to this machine, and GitLab recommends that you use 2048, that's 2 gigabytes of RAM. I'm going to leave it at 512 just to make a point out to it and show you what happens if you do. Some hosting providers might only allow you 512 megabytes of RAM, so good to know what to do in that case. Hit next, and you want to select the virtual disk drive, just unzipped, and hit create. Now it's ready to boot up, but we need to do one thing first. We're going to right click and select settings, go down to network, and we want to set it to bridged adapter. Setting it like this makes this virtual PC a member of your local network directly, so it gets its own IP address from the DHCP server and all that good stuff. Hit OK. Don't need that one anymore. And we click start. And it will boot up the first time, and it will ask for a couple of passwords and host names and things like that. Very easy. Okay, so it asked me to enter a root password. Since I know this server may not be permanent, I'm just gonna enter 1234. But I strongly urge you to select a better password. And the same for the root for the MySQL or MySQL server for you Americans. And it's a very good practice not to have the same password for the root account and the MySQL account. Also 1234 for the GitLab admin account. Again, don't use a root password for that account either. That's very bad. I'm just going to do it now because this is not a production server. Now I ask you for your email address for your admin account, and here you would enter your email address. I'm just going to leave it as is because I'm not going to be using this server later on. Now it asks you for a domain name. If you have a fully qualified domain name for this server and you are going to set up with port forwarding and all that good stuff, then you can enter it here. I'll just leave it as is to show you what it does. Okay. Hit apply and wait for it to do stuff. I might then need to put in some elevator music here. There we go. The API key for Turnkey Linux if you're using it, then enter it here. I'm not using it. Now it asks you if you want to install the security updates. Yes, you do want to do it, but for me to save time, I'm going to skip it. You need to install it. And there we go. That's all you needed to do. So now it shows you the IP address, 10.0.0.7. If we open up, open up that IP address in the browser, like so, gives you an error message. 502 bad gateway, and that's because we selected 512 megabytes of RAM for it, and it doesn't like it. It simply doesn't have enough memory to run. But there's a solution for this. So we open up our favorite SSH client, which for me is PuTTY 0.7. Yes. And we log in as root. And our stupid password 1234. And I'm going to paste this into the video description, but what we're going to do now is we're going to create a swap file area for this server to use. So just enter this command. It creates a file and how big it is and all that stuff. It's created. Then we want to turn that swap file into actual swap file with that command, and we want to turn the swap file on with that command. And if we reload this now, it should work. It might take a little bit of time the first time over. That could be because I entered not fully qualified domain name. I just have the example.com, which might be confusing it a bit. The first time it's a bit slow, but the next times it will be quite fast. So now it's asked me to log in, admin 1234. There we go. We have GitLab up and running. We close those windows, we don't need them at the moment. Now we can create a new project. Okay, just call it test project, like so. Now the project is created, and it says we won't be able to pull or push project code via SSH until we add an SSH key. And we need to do that We could use the HTTP interface, but that's very slow and it's not very good, so I wouldn't recommend it unless you really need to. So how do we add the SSH key and to work with SourceTree? Well, we click the link, let's call it home PC, then we open up SourceTree, like so, click tools, and we will create or import an SSH key. And we want to generate a key pair. You click this one and you move your mouse around a little bit to generate some kind of randomness to it. So, there you have it. This is your public key. So I'm going to select all of that, paste it in there and hit save. Now we told GitLab what kind of public key it should be expecting. And we need to save our private key because that's how RSA works. Don't want to passphrase. I'm just going to save it under my documents as GitLab test, like so. Okay, so now we have set up one part. Now we need to tell SourceTree how to use this private key of ours. We're going to click Launch SSH Agent, and I'll move my taskbar over so I can show you. In your, whatever this area is called, you have pagent, which is your agent for making the RSA connections work. We'll click that and remove this key. It was left over from earlier. And I'm going to add key. And I'm going to browse down to my private key. And there it goes. So, if I left it like this, I need to do this every time I start SourceTree. That's pretty annoying. So I'm going to go to Tools and Options. And in this field here, I'm going to browse for my private key file, like this. That tells it to, every time I open up SourceTree, it is also going to load this private key into Pagent, so it's ready to be used. Okay, hit OK there. And if I go back to my project on GitLab, I can copy this link over here. And now I'm ready to clone it to fetch the information from the server itself. So if I paste in this one, it will give me an error message. It would say, hey, there are no GitLab, no Git repositories in this location. That's because I have this domain name, which is wrong, if you remember from earlier. So I'm just going to enter the IP address, 0.0.7, and then I'm just going to click somewhere else, and it'll try to connect. And if everything worked out correctly, you had your RSA key set up, your private and your public key, it should say this is a Git repository. And that's good. And I'm going to save it in this location and just hit clone. And if I had something in there from before, it would download it for me. If not, like in this case, it's an empty one. Like this, nothing here. So if I open up my project location on my hard drive, I can create a new text document. Plans to take over the world. And if I go back into SourceTree, I have uncommitted changes, as usual. If you've seen my first video, you will understand all of this, so I'm not going to go into details. I recommend you watch that video. And I'm going to stage this change, and I'm going to hit commit. And a commit message, let's say something backside, because evil. There you go. Now I committed this into my repository, I think. But if I go back to here, nothing happened in GitLab. That's because my master branch is a local branch on my computer. I have not made any changes to the server, and that's what this push button does. It pushes my changes up to the server. So I just hit that one. I want to push my local master to my remote master. Okay, hit OK. And there we go. We have origin master, which is my server, and we have master, which is my local. If I do another refresh, it says I pushed, I changed, test project. And I can go into files, and I can have a look at the files. The file is empty. I can get a list over all the commits. I can do compares. I can see all the branches, all the tags. I can even see statistics. I can create issues for project management, milestones. I can do merge requests, if you know from GitHub. I can even set up my own wiki for this project, so I can have multiple people member of this project, and we can document our progress or plans, whatever, through this wiki page or issues. It's really cool and it works very well. Okay, so let's do another change here. Let's open up this file. And we do 1, get lots of money. 2, buy lots of stuff. 3, I don't know. And 4, profits. That's my plan to take over the world. So now I made the change. And it should say uncommitted changes. I'm going to stage this one. So I'm going to show you a little trick here. When I hit commit, listed plans, and down in the left corner you can select push commits immediately to origin, which means when I commit this to my local branch, I will also push the changes to my remote branch, like so. Now you see my origin master and my local master is both updated at the same time. If I didn't do that, add another question mark here to it. I have uncommitted changes. I'm going to stage them, hit commit, and I don't want to push. Immediately hit commit. Now you can see my local master is one ahead of my server master, and it also says there's one commit waiting to be pushed, what that one means. Then again, I can just hit push and do like that. And then we have these two other buttons over here. If someone else made changes, you can either pull all the changes directly into your current branch by pull, or if you just want to see if anything has been changed on the server, you do a fetch, and it shows you all the changes that have been made by other people. So the difference is have a peek and see what has been changed, and pull down the actual changes. All the other stuff works as normal. You can branch, you can merge, you can set tags and all that stuff. So that's basically it for how to set up Git in a multi-user environment. I recommend GitLab. We've been using this for our projects for quite a while, and it works great. It's a very nice way of documenting things through the wiki, and you can set up tasks through the issues, and people can, when they're checking code, they can resolve or they can assign commits to an issue, and they can create discussions, and it works very, very well. And if you go into the project settings, you can also set up a wall chat here. Just click that, and then you have a chat page. Hello. Like this. If you want to add more people, go to the admin area and click new user, and then you just fill in all the stuff here. You can also generate a random password for the user, but be aware that if you haven't set up email correctly for this server, that email will never be sent. So you need to make sure you can send emails from GitLab. I'm going to regret saying this, but I might later on show you how to properly set up email in GitLab, but don't hold your breath. Okay, so I said in the beginning I'm going to show you two ways of doing it, and this was how you set up with VirtualBox, and you have your own hosted server on your network, so you need to forward ports and you need to keep your PC turned on all the time, etc., etc. What I'm doing in my group, we use digitalocean.com. It's a cloud hosting service, sorry, and they're quite affordable, and that's cool. If I do a login here, we can go to a create droplet, which is a new server. The good thing about this, which is why I'm using DigitalOcean, one is that I can do a European hosting. And the second is if I go to applications, I can select GitLab. So it comes with GitLab pre-installed and ready to be used. And they also have a very good guide on how to set it up with email and configure it in your server. And I'll put all those links in the video description. I ask only one thing, and if you decide to use DigitalOcean, please use my referral link in my video description. And if you use that, I get a little bit of money so I can keep my own hosting solution running without paying too much. Okay, so that's it for now. I hope you learned something from this video. If you have any questions, feel free to post them in the comments, all that usual YouTube talk, and I'll see you later. Goodbye.